So today I'm going to paint a hummingbird sitting on a branch looking at some flowers. And this is my preparatory sketch, which I haven't yet done any colouring into. So I just wanted to have a quick word about drawing the hummingbird. I've just been drawing this from a photograph, which I printed out. This is a photo from a nature site, which I felt I could rely on because the photo would be relatively accurate and unaltered. There's a big problem with photos on the internet at the moment being photoshopped, and so the birds are looking very unrealistic. But I wanted to kind of get the proportions right on this one, so I'm working on that. You see a lot of paintings where the proportions of the bird are all wrong, and I wanted to investigate this, so I started to draw this. And the design that I'm going to do is that the bird is standing on a branch, and he's got another branch over the top of him arching over with a flower at the end. And so I'm going to develop that for the painting. And as I was drawing it, I was realizing that there's a couple of things that you might want to bear in mind if you want to actually draw a picture like this. I'm going to put the tracing up online when I finish the drawing. This isn't finished yet. This is just my first stages, and I thought I'd share it with you. That I noticed that looking at the photo, I measured with my pencil the distance from the base of the beak to the base of the neck, and it's that much. And then I measured from the end of the tail to the base of the neck and found that this distance here is half of the distance from the neck to the end of the tail, which is quite surprising, really. So in other words, the head, the whole head, is quite large in proportion to the rest of the body. And my first sketch, I'd got that completely wrong. I'd made the head much too small. So I've made that a little bit bigger now. And then I've also made another mistake here, which you can see because I shortened the body. I haven't yet shortened the legs. So the body is actually quite short. And according to this photo, when the bird is perching, he has his legs kind of tucked up underneath him. Those of you who live in warmer climates than me will see hummingbirds, and maybe you would agree with that. It's very easy to get sidetracked and to forget what the bird actually looks like. So I think I'm getting quite close there. He's got a green top to his head, and this part here curves round and comes down. This is his whole wing, so his wings are closed on this one. We did one with him flying not long ago, but I thought I would try and do one sitting, because then you can just kind of work a little bit on the actual proportions. This area is a bit darker. This area is beautiful iridescent green, and guess what we might be using in there when we come to paint it? Hey, how about we use some iridescent medium mixed with Caribbean blue or phthalo blue? That would be nice. And then, so we're going to then draw in a bower for him to be sitting under. So I'm going to prepare that sketch, and I'm going to ink it in, and then we're going to do this as a pen and ink and wash drawing, painting, whatever you want to call it. So that's my next stage, is to do the proper drawing, and I'll be back shortly when that's ready. Okay, so now to transfer this design onto my piece of watercolour paper, I'm going to use the following little technique. This is my sketchbook here, so I'm going to I'm not going to rip the page out. I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to open it up like that. Now I've made myself a piece of carbon paper here by taking a piece of tracing paper and a woodless pencil, pure graphite stick. You can buy these online. This is a pure graphite H8B, so very soft. And then I've just scribbled some of that graphite on the back of the tracing paper. Then I put the graphite side down onto my paper that I'm going to paint on, and then I'm going to put my sketch, which I have just prepared, on top of that. Then using I've taped the tracing paper down with some masking tape. Then using a very hard pencil, this is a 4H, nice and sharp, I'm going to now go over this drawing, and if I press reasonably hard, I can get the shape of the bird to transfer through. Yep, that's working. Don't have to press too hard. So the important things, it makes it so much easier if you've messed around with your sketch and you've played around with it trying to get it absolutely right on some scrap paper or in your sketchbook, the last thing you want to have to do is go through all that rigmarole again and rubbing out and so on and so forth. You don't really want to rub out on your watercolour paper. So this is a definite technique that I think is a really good one. Saves you a lot of time and gives you the opportunity to concentrate on your painting rather than on your drawing. So I'm not going to put in all of the flowers and leaves here and take up all your time. I'm just going to show you basically how this works, and then I'll go away and finish that, and then I'll ink it in, and then we'll come back and we'll paint it after lunch. So I'll just show you. That's how far I've got so far, and without disturbing the location, I'm just going to peel that masking tape off so I can just lift it up and show you that you can see it pretty clearly coming through there underneath. So that's the way that's going to go, and I'll get on with that and I'll see you shortly. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the colours that I'm going to be using to paint this. I've just tried it out on here as my test. I'm going to use Old Holland Caribbean Blue, which is a lovely, slightly softer colour, very closely related to Phthalo Blue. So if you don't have that one, Phthalo Blue will do fine. And then this one is Scheveningen Green, which is the same as Phthalo Green or Emerald Green, or one of those strong bluish greens, which those two colours are quite suitable for the back of the bird. And then as far as the yellow goes, I think I'll probably go for Quinacridone Gold, because although that's not necessarily really the colour of the bird, quinacridone mixes much better than most of the yellows with those two colours. So that's probably what I will do. That's what I've done here. This is only sketch paper, so it doesn't look terribly good. And then I thought about using Potter's Pink for the breast of the bird, because that's a slightly bluey mauve colour like that. So that is one way that we could go, and I think that would be fine. But if you don't have that colour, then there's no reason why you shouldn't use Rose Pink or Opera, or this one is Permanent Rose, one of those pink colours. And you can always dull that down a little bit with something else. You could add a tiny bit of blue to make it a little bit more greyish, and you end up with something much closer then to Potter's Pink. Something violet-y like that, which might actually be nicer than the Potter's Pink. You have to make these kinds of decisions when you're doing a painting, and according to your own preferences you can choose whatever you feel is going to be the best. I think I might go for the Permanent Rose with a little bit of Caribbean Blue in it, because I think that's quite a nice lilac that makes, surprisingly. But yes, and then the leaves up the top here, I'm not going to do them in Phthalo Green. I will use Sap Green and blend that also with quinacridone so that we get a nice soft variety of greens. I might use a little bit of Potter's Pink in there too. I might also add a tiny touch of Caribbean Blue just to give a mixture. And the flowers I'm going to do in, basically I'm considering that they're probably white flowers, but I'm going to just give them little dashes of pink. And that's what we're going to do there. So we'll take away my experimental work there, put that to one side, use it as my reference, along with the photo and my original piece of reference material. And so I've now inked in the painting, in the drawing, using a Staedtler number 3, 0.3 Staedtler dry liner, pigment liner, sorry, waterproof ink of any kind. And then the first step is to wet the body of the bird all over. I'm using a fairly large piece of paper here. This is, it must be 10 by 12, I think. It's not huge, but it's bigger than I normally have been using recently. It's been stretched. It's £140 watercolour paper. So then I'm going to drop in some Quinacridone Gold on the wing here. Then cleaning my brush, I'm then going to put Caribbean blue along the back, phthalo green down the middle and on the head, and coming down towards the beak. There we are. And then, like I said, a little touch of blue with the permanent rose to give me a nice pale sorry for the hesitation. I thought I could suddenly smell someone barbecuing. That's a bit strange. We don't really have any neighbours. Anyway, so that's that, and now that I will let that dry and then come in with another layer on top to add the pink and the other colours that I'm going to use. And meanwhile, I'm going to take permanent rose and sap green and mix up a soft greeny brown colour for the stems. All of this is basically the first coat. Let's see. Green. Gold. Grey-green. More yellowy. Greyish. Those are supposed to be two buds. I'm not sure I did a very good job of drawing those, but we'll see. Some more leaves. Yeah. And let's make these ones down here quite greyish. And now I'm going to visit the flowers and just drop in a little bit of pink, using Potter's pink here. And the buds, don't forget the buds, they're a little bit stronger. And a tiny bit of permanent rose on top. Let that run. And I think I'll put in his beak using the brown. Okay. I'll put a little bit of shadow underneath in some parts of the twig, not too much. Under here, just to make it pop a little bit. I won't do it there because that's meant to be further away, but maybe a couple of little, this is burnt umber, I think. What is that? Or sepia. Nope, that's black. It doesn't look like black. It looks rather brown. I think I might have mixed something in with that at some point. Never mind. Let's call that sepia. Or black, whatever. And don't forget those little leaflets there. Okay, so now I need to let that dry completely, and then I'll come in and do the second layer of the bird. So time for lunch. I'll be back soon. So the first stage of the painting is dry now, and I'm going to re-wet the body of the bird. He's got his beak, he's got his eye, and I'm going to just re-wet the entire body very lightly. If you don't press at all, you won't disturb the paint underneath. But if you do press hard, then you obviously would. But now I'm going to drop in some more colours, and I'm going to mix some of my Caribbean blue with some permanent rose to make a violet purpley colour. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of that in along the back edge of the bird there, somewhat irregularly, hoping that that will blend a little bit, and maybe a little bit along the head area. And then perhaps a little bit pinker rather than blue, I'm going to drop a little bit in on the underside of the wing, around here. And a bit more pink under the beak. I don't like that where the grey colour has arisen. That's not what I was after, so I'm going to add some, what shall I put there? I think I'm going to deviate from the painting, the photo, and I'm going to add some more green and bring that green down a little bit into the yellow, like that. Then I think I'm going to add some more Quinacridone Gold. And then perhaps some dark blue down here, just a little bit. A little bit on the forehead there, perhaps. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there. Perhaps a tiny bit more on the beak. And I think I'm going to let that dry and see where that lands up. Okay, so there we are. That's finished now. It's all dry. Everything is done. I could add some spatter. I could add some bits and pieces of extra in the background, but I've decided not to because I quite like the clean look of it. You can see how it compares with my original sketch, choice of colours, and this was the original photograph that I based it on. Today's is one of those birds that I've done that's turned out quite similar to the original. It's not really what you might call a really loose interpretation, although it's fairly loose. I hope you enjoyed that. Have a go, make it your own, and don't forget to take part in the competition that we're running on the Facebook page, where you are in with a very good chance of winning an Etcher live interactive tutorial voucher. All you have to do is paint one of my tutorials and post it. There's instructions on the Facebook page, Learn to Paint Watercolour, and I'll mention it in the description below as well in case you need a follow-up on that. So I think that's all for now. So I will love you and leave you and let you get on with your day. Hope you enjoyed watching this one today, and I'll be back in tomorrow, hopefully. So bye-bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.